While making another video, I came across some concept art that I haven't analyzed yet and honestly had completely forgotten about. These pieces of concept art are of scenes from the teaser trailer released back in 2020. Concept artist Marco Iozzi has them up on his website, and we also know from this blurred out project title down at the bottom, Bowie, that these are for Mass Effect 5. It also just says right here. This first image, titled Establishing, is seen in the opening shot of the trailer, followed by the second image, titled Diving In, Reaching Twin Star. These names are extremely interesting because Establishing shows both the Milky Way galaxy and the Andromeda galaxy, but specifically the shot is zooming out from the Andromeda galaxy and zooming into the Milky Way galaxy. This could be a visual of the next game's intent to bring us back to the Milky Way galaxy, like a lot of the concept art shows. The next piece, being titled Diving In, Reaching Twin Star, is a space phenomenon that I can't 100% identify. The closest thing I could find was possibly a dying star, and that also looks like this image of a star in the process of dying. So I do think this is designed after a dying star, but with a spin on it. If this is related to a dying star, it would make sense because the next piece of concept art is titled Glowing Star Explosion. It has 3 phases in these concept pieces showing the stages of the explosion. And the final piece is titled Glowing Star. And this looks like it has 1 large star and 1 small star, possibly being the 2 that are converging in the trailer. So maybe this was the original concept art that was later changed to the shape that we see in the trailer. There's one final piece of concept art in Iozzi's portfolio, and it is titled Establishing, just like the first piece. This piece looks like it shows some type of debris accelerating, possibly debris around the dying stars. I'm not particularly sure. These pieces of concept art do remind me of a tweet Mike Gamble retweeted back in October of last year. The original tweet shows the Milky Way and Andromeda galaxies converging, and the actual predicted image definitely reminds me of the concept art. No, I don't think the game will take place 4 to 5 billions of years into the future when these 2 galaxies are actually expected to converge, but Gamble hasn't been subtle about the Andromeda connections in the next game, and I think the trailer has several clues that could tie the 2 galaxies' stories together, specifically a plot revolving around dying stars. In Mass Effect 2, Tali tells us that Haystrom's star Dolan is dying. Haystrom was originally colonized by the Quarians as a way to observe Dolan's activity, but then was later seized by geth and became a geth stronghold. And it's unclear how the geth were communicating from the planet, considering Dolan's magnetic eruptions and solar events overwhelm most communications. Despite this, Haystrom housed thousands of geth platforms and an unknown number of geth software units. Remote scanning to get exact numbers was difficult because of Dolan's magnetic interference, so exact numbers are unknown, but it is a lot of geth. It was also speculated by intelligence experts that resources on the planet were not fully utilized as geth were preserving them for repairs. But the planet was expected to have at least 20 more years of use before running out of resources. Cal Rieger tells us that Quarian scientists are worried about dark energy further destabilizing Dolan and causing it to mature early into a red giant too quickly by reducing the mass of its interior. And this is where we get into the dark energy plotline that was dropped from Mass Effect 2 and how it could be related to the upcoming sequel. It's not a secret that this plotline was one of the more interesting plotlines in Mass Effect that never came to amount to anything. After Mass Effect 2, the entire dark energy plot is dropped and we don't learn about Haystrom's star Dolan or what was causing this phenomenon. Because the story was never fleshed out, there is so much that could be done with it. Drew Karpyshyn, lead writer for Mass Effect 1 and 2, did do an interview where he breaks down the dark energy plot and where it could have gone.
Maybe, so dark energy is something that only organics can access for, various techno-science magic reasons. We hadn't necessarily got into that yet. Maybe using this dark energy was having sort of a ripple effect on, for want of a better term, the space-time continuum. I mean, it sounds pretty hokey. We would have, put a little more thought into it. But, you know, maybe what was happening, or one of the things we discussed, was the reason the Reapers kept wiping out organic life was because organics eventually would evolve to where they're using biotics and dark energy, and that was, you know, an entropic effect that was potentially going to, you know, hasten the end of the universe. And being, you know, immortal beings, that is something they did not want to see. Even if, you know, we're bringing the collapse, or the inevitable collapse of the universe closer by, you know, a few million years, they still want to enjoy all that time. Then we thought, well, let's take it to the next level. Maybe the Reapers are looking at a way to stop this. Maybe there's an inevitable, you know, descent into the opposite of the Big Bang, right? The big crunch, or you know, the end of the universe. Mm-hmm. And they've realized that the only way to stop it is through using biotics. And since they can't do it, that's sort of why they keep rebuilding society, and they're trying to find the perfect group to use biotics. You know, the Asari were close, but they weren't quite right. The Protheans maybe were close, and they've kept trying again and again. We're all just sort of a giant experiment as they're trying to find the right mix of, you know, mental fortitude and biotic ability and whatever else is in the genetic code that allows a particular species to use biotics to stop the end of the universe, or maybe to ascend into Reaperhood and then still keep this biotic power.
As you can tell, it's not very fleshed out, and personally, I'm not a fan of where some of this could have gone. But what's actually in the game is just enough to leave us wanting more, and it didn't finalize any real information about what dark energy is, where it came from, or how it is affecting the galaxy. What we do know about dark energy is that it is a type of pent-up energy inherent in the fabric of space-time. It is an enigmatic phenomenon that acts in opposition to gravity and is responsible for accelerating the expansion of the universe. There is still a lot unknown about dark energy, but it's essentially the stuff in between and is seemingly responsible for the expansion of the universe. And there is a lot of it, making up roughly 68% of the universe. And this ties into how exactly Mass Effect's Element Zero works. When Element Zero is subjected to an electrical current, it releases dark energy, which can be manipulated into a Mass Effect field. And Mass Effect fields are the core of the Mass Effect's universe foundation, and the reason the mass relays and faster-than-light travel can even exist. And what we've already seen looks like Element Zero in one of the teaser posters. Element Zero seems to have a bright blue color to it, which looks very similar to the crater we see in the poster shape, exactly like a geth. So everything we're seeing here points to a possible relation to dying stars, and dying stars relate to the dark energy plot dropped from Mass Effect 2 that revolved around the geth and quarian conflict on Haestrom. If the next game relates to dying stars, it would neatly tie into the original story's threads that were already planted, and could potentially open up ways to connect Andromeda, since we know the next game will involve Andromeda in some way. The Scourge from Andromeda is still very much a mystery. Just like the dark energy plot, the Scourge plot in Andromeda was also left unresolved, which leaves a ton of room for possibilities. What we do know about the Scourge is that it is described as a dark energy cloud, and most speculation ties it to dark energy, despite it not behaving in the way dark energy is expected to. The Scourge also has Element Zero that can be harvested from it, at a cost, but it is possible. And we're already seeing several connections to the potential Element Zero in the trailer and the dark energy, and I do think this is the best way to connect the two storylines, while both answering some unresolved questions to both game stories and making the two storylines feel more cohesive. And even though we are told that the Scourge was released into the Helios cluster after the detonation of a powerful weapon, we don't know this for sure. Maybe it existed elsewhere in the universe before. Maybe it was created. Maybe it was a slow buildup and the detonation was a catalyst. Maybe the detonation of the relays and that energy blast from Mass Effect 3 was a catalyst. Who knows? Maybe we could even meet the Jardan in the next game. We know that during the Andromeda Initiative's 633-year journey, the Jardan visited the Helios cluster between 2400 and 2500, and created the Remnant to protect their underground terraforming structures, but were then forced to flee due to an unknown alien threat. The Jardaan warred with this alien race, and the Scourge detonating on Key Tessera, the Remnant space station, was the result of this conflict. The entire plot was left unresolved, and finding out the origins of the Jardaan, even in a prequel setting, could help resolve these questions. But I really do think the next game will take place a few years after the ending of Mass Effect 3. Not only is there a ton of story possibilities, but there's also so many questions, and I do think these will be addressed before any Andromeda questions are focused on. But I do hope we see some kind of answers that could help add more context and story to the Andromeda threads that we will never see resolved in a direct sequel. So this is all my speculation based on this old concept art. I think this could help connect a lot of dots from the game's trailer, while also connecting to the original trilogy story and Andromeda's story. And I think the dark energy plot is a perfect way to do it. The dying stars, the scourge, the geth, element 0, and dark energy, and the quarians, it all makes sense. And it all connects to the clues that we've already seen. So what do you think about all this? Do you think this concept art is of a dying star? And do you think the poster has element 0 in its crater? And after hearing my theories, do you think all of this could be connected to the next game? Let me know what you think in the comments and how you'd connect all of this. And thank you for watching. And only 34 days until N7 Day. And I'm sorry about my voice, I'm recovering from COVID, so please bear with me.